supporting low vision, cortical visual impairment, and deaf and hard of hearing. Settings and features. 7.3.
Many AAC learners have complex disability profiles, and sometimes that includes sensory impairments, their hearing and vision, which impacts how they access AAC. Adjustments to auditory and visual features seem a reasonable first step, but it's important to also consider implementation strategies that teach AAC learners about other pathways that will help them navigate their device. As modifications are considered, we try to preserve access to the words they will need for ongoing language development. Part 1 of this 2-video topic will focus on settings and features of AAC devices. The second segment will explore those implementation strategies. Those with low vision have limited visual acuity. CVI, or cortical vision impairment, is a form of vision impairment in which the brain has difficulty processing the visual signal, though eye function is not impaired. Difficulties with the eye or the brain's ability to interpret what the eyes see impact a learner's ability to visually navigate their AAC. Luckily, we can customize AAC tools to make them more accessible. Adjustments to the button and display size make the grid easier to see. Having a good deal of contrast to buttons or the grid can make AAC more visually accessible as well. Likewise, settings that highlight or add movement to a symbol as it is selected can also be helpful. Learners with hearing impairment who receive limited auditory feedback from their AAC also benefit from settings and features that increase the visual experience of interacting with AAC through contrast, highlighting, and movement. Adjusting the amplification of the device may be beneficial depending on the level and type of hearing loss. Selecting a voice in the frequency range that the learner is most likely to hear is also something that can be explored. It may also be necessary to consider other sensory pathways. Scanning with an auditory cue may be helpful for a learner with vision impairment. This could be through partner-assisted scanning, where the communication partner speaks options aloud, or an auditory scanning setting on a high-tech AAC device. Tactile symbols are another option, either as part of an AAC system or to facilitate learning about symbols. A few options include Project Core's templates for 3D symbols, Attainment Company's tactile materials for the Go Talk Now app, or American Printing House symbol kits. Tactile cues or guides around the edge or on the key guards can also be used to orient the AAC learner to the edges, center, or quadrants of their AAC system. Lastly, adjustments to the environment may be needed to limit distraction and optimize the visual inputs and auditory information for learners with sensory impairment. Reducing auditory and visual distraction and being attuned to the impact of light can make a difference.
We realized very early on that Sophie's vision was an issue. We learned about using very bright, colorful objects to do tracking and to make sure that we minimized background and didn't put her in front of the lights because it just blinded her. And they come into the school every year and remind them that she has to face away from the windows and that you can't show her shiny things. And they help them, set up the classroom so that it's not so overwhelming. They do put some covers over the lights where she sits so that the light isn't so bright, and those things all really help.
When built-in features or simple adjustments to settings are not sufficient to ensure access to AAC, or when changes in grid size compromise access to robust AAC, strategies to minimize the demands of impaired sensory channels should be explored. These are discussed in Part 2. Ultimately, it's a dance and a balancing act. Collaboration between team members, including an SLP and teacher of the visually impaired or teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing, will be helpful for understanding a learner's unique skills and needs to guide the discussion and weigh benefits and limitations for individual learners.